Hello everyone and welcome back to the Football Chuggu Podcast. My name is Thomas Durning and today I'm joined by my co-host Pearse McLaughlin. Hello Pearse.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing well. On today's podcast, we'll be giving our reactions to the latest managerial news around Europe. We'll be discussing transfer news that's been happening the last couple of weeks. And we'll talk about the international fixtures. So we'll talk about Scotland. And at the end of the podcast, Pearse will be giving a rundown of all the latest Asian football news. So we'll start off with Rangers and managerial news. So we found out last week that Rangers had finally got a new manager, and that new manager is Russell Martin. So Rangers announced that they'd appointed Russell Martin as head coach of their men's first team on a 3-year deal. So it was pretty quick. So I think we did the podcast, and then it was about a few hours later. I think Rangers had actually decided, right, we're going with Russell Martin as our new head coach, and then the next morning he was announced and confirmed. Pearse. So Russell Martin, Rangers head coach. What's your thoughts?
Um, um, Not really convinced, to be honest. His managerial record to date hasn't been great. Although he has had brief success with Southampton, getting them promoted to the Premier League. But when they were in the Premier League, he only got 1 win in 15. And he was on the end of some scuddings. Never adapted his style of play in the Premier League. And which is a bit naive. But he is also a young manager. He's got obviously good ideas. He wants to play attacking football, open, expansive. Worked successfully in the Championship. And I think the last two Rangers managers have not really a clear identity of the style they want to play. And I think if he has his clear identity of how he wants to play against the personnel he wants, he could have success. But if he's as open as he was in the Premier League and the Scottish Premiership, he will face some trouble because he likes to play open from the back. And if you look at Rangers' defence, that was a weakness last season. Too many unforced errors. Very weak defensively in terms of playing out from the back, even set pieces and defending. And that was one of the weaknesses, obviously, Southampton's side. But obviously, Rangers fans know him from his time on loan from Norwich towards the latter stage of his playing career, which wasn't a good Rangers side at the time, and he wasn't obviously one of the better players. But he also knows the club inside out, having played for him briefly, knows the demands, the expectations. So it remains to see how it will go, but he's got a really tough ask in terms of rebuilding this Rangers side. And obviously won't be long until he's having to jump into Champions League qualifiers. So no. For me, I think it's one of those ones. I think you're expecting someone a bit bigger, someone a bit more high caliber, but you're thinking also at the same time that he's probably the best of the candidates that are available and the ones they interviewed. So it remains to see, but I think for me it's a bit underwhelming, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. My thoughts about I was a bit surprised to be fair at the timing, because I thought it was definitely going to be the end of last week, and it was just sort of spurned late in the night that Russell Martin. It was kind of confirmed on later on in the night that Rangers had decided to go the way of Russell Martin. Apparently, the Russell Martin didn't find out until late on last Tuesday, that he was going to be confirmed as the new Rangers manager. So it was very late on in the day. My thoughts on him being Rangers head coach. Um, I think it's very interesting. I get the points you make that um, the time he had at Southampton, the style of play is concerning. The Rangers fans weren't happy. I have to be honest. I mean, I did see some of the reaction. They weren't too pleased. with the appointment. But what you get with Russell Martin is you get a certain style of play that he wants to implement very much. The ball's on the ground, passing, lots of playing in pockets, football like that. So that's what you get with Russell Martin. He has got a little bit of experience now. He's got over 250 matches managed, but the difference is that he's only managed Milton Keynes, Dons, Swansea, and Southampton, and the level from there to Rangers is totally different because at these clubs you're not expected to win, whereas at Rangers in the first game you're expected to win. So he did say something interesting that he knows that they're going to have to get off to a good start, regardless of however they're playing. He says he knows he needs to win from the start because if he doesn't win from the start, then he's going to be under pressure. Do I think he's going to come in and instantly be successful? No, I don't. I think it's going to take time, and I think with the new ownership, I think they're going to give him the time to sort of embed his ideas in because they all know what they're going to get with Russell Martin. So, but obviously you can have time, but you can't get that much time because obviously you need to win. I think it's a very interesting appointment. He did say that they're going to have to bring players through the door because their squad is light at the moment. So I think in the next couple of weeks you're going to see some movement in terms of Rangers incomings. But it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. It would definitely at the end it was between him and David Ancelotti, and I think they just went with Russell Martin because of the fact that he knows the club because he played for the club briefly, and he kind of does have he has more experience as a manager, because Ancelotti hasn't even managed a club before. And by the way, it's interesting. I'm saying head coach, not manager, because he is a head coach. He's been appointed Rangers head coach, so basically he's only in charge of what goes on in the training pitch and results, and basically recruitment and scouting. He's going to leave to other departments at Rangers. So yeah, that's why I keep saying head coach because it is slightly different head coach manager. But yeah, Rangers appointed Russell Martin as head coach, and we'll see how that gets on, and we'll talk about it more in the following weeks when Rangers start announcing signings. So we'll move on to other managerial news, and we'll move down to the English Premier League. And we found out last week as well that Tottenham had confirmed that they had parted company with Ange Postecoglou. So this has been a kind of a long run story this year. We all know how Tottenham's season ended. Tottenham announced that they had sacked Ange Postecoglou as manager. Well, no, Postecoglou was the first manager in 17 years to win Tottenham a trophy. And apparently that it was a unanimous decision by the Spurs board to part company with Postecoglou. So, Pearse, what's your thoughts on that?
Not surprised in terms of Daniel Levy, because obviously he does act like a small club mentality, and that's what he's showing again. He sacked Mourinho right before a cup final. Get ready for Pochettino right after they got to a Champions League final, a matter of months later. And now he sacked Ange Postecoglou less than 2 weeks after he's won a European trophy. Although the form in the league wasn't great, but you've got to look at his injury record and what he had to work with in terms of a shoestring budget. So the fact is he managed to win a European trophy and secure Champions League football, because it doesn't really matter if you finish 10th, 12th, 9th, 8th, you're not getting Champions League football. And the fact is he finished 17th when he knew the season was already over anyway. Look at Manchester United, they were in the same boat. But he changed his style in terms of trying to win a European trophy, and that's what he did. And he dropped one of the coldest quotes of all time. I always won in my second season. And that's what he's done. And to go out like that is just so badass. And someone that we watched closely at Celtic was in Scotland. and I've seen him as well in Japan and for the Australian national team back in the World Cup, 2014. Yeah, wherever he's went, he's had success, and he'll continue to do so. And I think Ange Postecoglou will have no shortcomings of offers to go back into management. And I think Tottenham have treated him harshly. I think every Tottenham supporter and even the players, you've seen the level of support they've put out in social media. I don't know if you've seen the WhatsApp message between him and Yves Bissouma, which it just shows you that the connection he had with the players. So the players are pretty upset. So Tottenham will have to, Daniel Levy and the Tottenham board will have to appease the players because a lot of the players are really fighting together with that manager, Ange Postecoglou, and he was a terrific manager that demanded a lot, changed the whole philosophy of the club. To do that in just 2 short seasons in terms of finishing fifth and won a European trophy, I think is nothing short of miraculous because we all know that Tottenham are set out to be like a three at the back / counter-attacking football. And let's not forget, 2 seasons ago, Tom, he lost his best striker, arguably the best striker in the world, Harry Kane. And
Yep.
who did he replace him with? No one. He had to
Mm-hmm.
put Son for the striker, and then he signed Sri Lanka this year. But that was like, apart from that, he never really bought many players. So what he worked miracles, and I think it won't be long until you see Ange Postecoglou go back to management, and I think we'll get a top job.
Yep. My reaction was, um, I was 50-50 with it. Like, on one side, I was a bit shocked because I thought that he'd done enough, um, get to be given at least this summer, to get the players in he wants because of the fact that he won that trophy that Tottenham were so desperately wanting. And then on the other side, I was thinking to myself, well, you know, the league was really, really bad this season. And there's a stat where over the last year and a half or so, Tottenham haven't even won half their games in total. So I think the Tottenham board were looking at it from a long term view and they thought, it's not been working for a while. We've not been picking up the win as many wins as we should for a long time. So I was looking at that side, but at the end of the day, he did win Tottenham the trophy that they were so desperately wanting. You're talking about that quote that he always wins in his second season. He got that down to an absolute T. Um, and yeah, for me, in my opinion, I did think he deserved this summer, um, at least to see how he would start next season. Um, but obviously, the Tottenham board haven't looked at it. Daniel Levy hasn't looked at it that way. And I must say, the majority of Tottenham fans aren't happy about it. They're really disappointed because they felt that Postecoglou uh, deserved another chance. And as you said, you can tell by the players' reaction to him leaving that they're really disappointed about it because they all really backed him. They loved him as a manager, they loved him as a person. Um, and yeah, it's going to be quite sad as well because me and you both know, and obviously from when he was at Celtic, um, and obviously he went down to Tottenham because he's really good in terms of the way he speaks and stuff is, he's really engaging. So it's going to be quite sad to see that he's not going to be, in front of the cameras a lot and giving these motivational speeches and stuff like that because he's really good to listen to. But as you said, I think he will definitely pick up another job very soon. That's if he wants to, because I don't know why, but I have this feeling he might go into the media for a little bit and do stuff like that. So maybe like matches a day or something.
There has
I
been
think he'd be quite
rumours that
good on.
he might be taking a national team job.
Yeah, yeah. There's one country that I'm thinking about.
I felt Scotland and Italy maybe.
Yeah, maybe. He looks better than Tartan. uh,
No
no, but
back to Tom.
we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, Postecoglou sacked as Tottenham manager. And then just briefly, Pearse, before we move on, in terms of Tottenham, in terms of Ange's replacement, it looks like it's going to be Brentford manager Thomas Frank. apparently the deal's been agreed and he's going to be appointed manager very soon. What's your thoughts on that?
I think he's a really top class manager. What he's done with Brentford, brought them all through divisions, um, and he's made them a stable club. And you look at the top earners, like Mbuemo, Wissa, they're all on. No one's over like 45, 50 grand a week. That's like the budget of the top earners. That's why Tony left.
Yeah,
Um, like the same players from the Championship or like not the top leagues, and then they make them better players, and they compete year after year. And when you watch them play, they always excite you. You don't know what you're going to get, but you know you're going to get an entertaining match that they'll give the bigger sides like Man City, Liverpool, Man United, Tottenham, all a really tough game. And I think Thomas Frank has done his time at Brentford. Let's be honest. I think what he's done there, I think he's reached his ceiling because I think this summer at Brentford, I think he will lose a lot of his top earners. In terms of Visser and Buemo, I think they're looking likely to leave. So you have
mm-hmm.
to rebuild that squad again. And I think with Tottenham, you've got Champions League football and you've got potential to build. And obviously, I think for me, it's a step up in his career.
Yeah. I think it's going to be. It's. I think for Tottenham, they're going to be getting a really good manager. We all know the job he's done at Brentford. The players that. I mean, that Brentford team is his team basically. I mean, every player in that team he's basically signed. I think he did sign in Buemo, the likes of Buemo, Vissa, Nathan Collins, etc. And we all know what the team looks like. They've always been a really organised team. They play counter-attacking football. They're really good from set pieces. That's the one thing about Brentford that I've always been really impressed to watch. That they're all so creative in set pieces. Um, so they're getting a very good tactical manager. And I think he does deserve that sort of step up. And he deserves his chance to manage a top six club, so to speak. Um, and obviously, I think I don't think he was really wanting to leave Brentford, but I think the fact Tottenham have got Champions League football, the facilities they've got, the players, I just think it was too good for him to turn down. And he's going to be a big loss to Brentford because I mean the job that he's done there is unbelievable. He's turned them from a Championship team into a very stable mid-table Premier League team.
Yeah.
So yeah, for Brentford, it's really sad news. I think for Tottenham, I think they're going to get a really good manager, but it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with that step up from Brentford to Tottenham. Um, and he's obviously coming into Tottenham at a good time, just off the back of a trophy. So yeah, that's that. That's not confirmed yet, but it looks like that's going to happen. And just lastly, Pearse, quickly before we move on to transfer news, the last managerial news we'll talk about is that Roma have appointed Gianpiero Gasperini as a new manager. So Gasperini is well known for his time at Atalanta. So Pearse, what's your thoughts on that?
I think similar to what's Frank at Brentford, I think Gasperini, what he's done at Atalanta is like miraculous. Because at Atalanta, maybe like 10, 15 years ago, no one really heard of them in Italian football in terms of like, the big clubs. And he's made them consistent Champions League, Europa League. Um, and whenever you play these sides and like the so-called bigger sides like Juventus, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Napoli, Roma, they've competed and they've always kind of cut that gap. And he's won trophies there as well. And I think you've seen the way he's played for Atalanta. We've seen it this season when they played Celtic. They absolutely dominated, annihilated Celtic in terms of chances created, but they couldn't get the goal to get the victory. Celtic defending manfully. We've seen them in Serie A, seen the Europa League when they beat Bayer Leverkusen 2 seasons ago. The only side to beat them that whole season, and they destroyed them. So I think for me, tactically, he's very astute. He knows how to sign players and make them better and develop them. I always remember that side with Gomez and Ilicic. That was like the
Yeah,
start, sort of the starting of that revolution of Atalanta.
Yep.
And what he's done and took the club to the next level, I think is nothing short of miraculous. And I think Roma is a massive club. It's like a sleeping giant almost in Italian football.
Mhm.
And I think I think he could be the man to take him to the next level. I think, and let's not forget the job that Ranieri done at the end of this
Yep.
season. He never lost a game at the end of the season. I think they went 17 or 18 games unbeaten, and they
Yeah,
played
brilliant.
big sides. And this is a man that has virtually done everything in football. He's a miracle man. That's what he's called
Be
because
retired.
what he
He
done
came out
there.
of retirement.
He's retired and now he's an advisor role at Roma because I think
Yep.
he's Mr. Roma. And I think
Yep.
what he done in the season there, he can go off and retire in the sunset because I think he's even offered the Italian job and he's turned it down because I think
Mm-hmm.
he's 74 years old now. He can relax. He's done what he's done.
Yeah, no.
Oh, and I think Gasperini's the next man to take Roma back, potentially Champions League football and challenging for trophies.
Yep. I agree with everything you said there. Gasperini, I think for Roma, it's a coup, to be honest, because Atalanta have been top of the Serie A teams for quite a few years now. They're such an exciting team to watch, score lots of goals. As you said, that team they had, the Ilicic and Gomez and Zapata. I always remember him. He was a brilliant player for Atlanta as well. They had cup miners. Yeah, Roma are getting a really good manager. I think Gasperini's the right manager for them. I think he'll definitely go in there and make a good impression because I think Roma need to start challenging at the top end of the Serie A now because for too long they've been sort of mid-table in the Serie A and they're too big a club to be like that. And yeah, I think Roma are getting a top manager. And as I like Thomas Frank, I think Gasperini does deserve that chance to manage one of the top Italian teams. And I think for Roma and Gasperini, I think it's a good fit. Him going to Roma and yeah, so Gasperini to Roma, that's confirmed. So we'll now move on to transfer news. So we'll start off with, well, there's been signings confirmed, official. So we'll start off in the last hour. It was confirmed that Celtic have signed Kieran Tierney on a 5-year deal. So Tierney left Arsenal as a free agent. So Celtic haven't had to pay a fee for Kieran Tierney. So Kieran Tierney returns to Celtic. Pearse, what's your thoughts?
Um, Massive coup for Celtic. Obviously, I think it's been mumbled for months, but to see it actually official in terms of signing on that dotted line, 5-year deal, getting his number 63 number back. He could potentially took the number 3. 'Cause I think Greg Taylor's departing.
I
Um,
didn't know that.
yeah, so he's been confirmed he's back his old
Yeah,
academy number. So I think that's he just wants to go back to where he left off, back where he's feeling happy, and I think he's going to come back a more mature player. He was more electric, dynamic when he was playing at Celtic the first time around. I think he's kind of went a bit more defensive, not really bomb forward as much as he used to. Had a lot of injury problems down at Arsenal in the last 5 years, and that has got to be a major concern. I don't think he can play 50, 60 games a season, and I think Celtic will have to sign a backup left back in some shape or form because even the backup left back will have to play 20, 25 games a season. I think Tierney potentially could play 30, 35 if he could. But the thing is with Tierney, we all know his undoubted talent in terms of both playing for Celtic and down for Arsenal and in the Scotland shirt. I think he's proven over the years that he's a phenomenal talent. But if you can just stay injury free, then it's a massive signing for someone they sold for 25 million and get them back for zero. I think that's commendable to Celtic, and I think it's got to be a massive coup.
yeah, I agree. It's that aspect you said, the fact they sold him for 25 million and they're getting him back for free. I think that's absolutely brilliant business for a player like Kieran Tierney. Um, just shows how smart Celtic are, to be fair, in the transfer sort of in the transfer world. But in terms of Kieran Tierney, coming back to Celtic, we've all known it's for months. We've known that it's going to happen anyway. So today was just the fact they was just signing on the dotted line. I think we've talked about it in the past, but obviously Kieran Tierney's coming back to Celtic as a more mature all round player. We all know what he was like in his first spell. He was a very fast, very powerful player. Then he went to Arsenal. He's had his ups and downs at Arsenal. But with Arteta, for example, he's learned from when I've watched him, he's learned more how to play with the ball at his feet. He's come inside a lot more to get the ball. Whereas at Celtic, in his first spell, he would always just kind of stay right on the touchline and just wait for the ball, and then he would run down the line and cross it. So he's obviously developed a lot more at Arsenal. And yet for Celtic, they're going to be getting a player that's much more all round. I think people might. I don't think he's going to be the same player as he was the first time round because obviously he's older and stuff like that, and he's had his injury. He's had his injuries, but in terms of experience, in terms of his passion for the club, Celtic are undoubtedly getting a top player. And yeah, as you said, I do think Celtic do need to go into the market for another left back if Greg Taylor leaves, and that's a big if. It looks like it's going to happen because we all know Tierney can't play every game because he is very injury prone. And I think Celtic do know that anyway. I think it'd be a bit silly if they would go into the season with just Kieran Tierney as a left back. So yeah, so that's that confirmed. And by the way, the fact he signed a 5-year deal suggests to me that I don't think he's planning to go anywhere else for a long time. I've got a feeling that in his head he thinks he wants to stay at Celtic for the rest of his career, potentially become the captain after Cal McGregor. But we'll see. We'll see. That's obviously in the long term future. But yeah, that's Kieran Tierney confirmed as a Celtic player. We've also confirmed today that Borussia Dortmund have signed Bellingham. No, not Jude Bellingham. His brother, Jobe Bellingham. Yeah. Borussia Dortmund have signed Jobe Bellingham from Sunderland for 31 million. So he goes to the Bundesliga side, Borussia Dortmund. Pearse, what's your thoughts on that one?
It's surprising, to be honest. So they signed a 16-year-old Jude Bellingham from Birmingham City. But this time they signed a 19-year-old Jobe Bellingham, his younger brother, younger sibling, plays the exact same position, similar frame, similar type of player in terms of box to
Mm-hmm.
box fielder, and he's a goal threat. But this time he's 19 years of age. He's played one full season at Birmingham, then he played two for Sunderland. He just got Sunderland promoted to the Premier League, and he's made the massive switch to Dortmund. And I think Dortmund have seen that potential, and also they probably used the connection with Jobe's brother Jude, that to potentially lure him to the Bundesliga, because I think everybody would probably expect him to stay in that we can experience Premier League football. But I think obviously the lure of obviously Champions League football, challenging for trophies rather than relegation threatened Sunderland, um, is probably the lure. And obviously, like you say, his brother played there and he's been there as a fan. So I think the connection, I think everyone wants to play in front of that yellow wall. It's infectious. It's probably one of the best atmospheres that around Europe. So I think for me, not surprising that they've signed him because obviously his brother's connection, but it's just mad that a club has signed two two brothers in the same position. And potentially, who knows, they could potentially sell him for 100 million as well. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's a bit. I don't think that's ever happened before. Well, no, probably no, it has happened before, but it's just very rare. You see one Bellingham play for Borussia Dortmund. He leaves to go to Real Madrid, and then a couple of years later, the brother comes to Borussia Dortmund. It kind of looks like they're both following the same trajectory in terms of career. But
Probably
for
mad
Joe
though, isn't it?
Bellingham,
Imagine
yeah,
Williams midfield for Real Madrid.
I know the two Bellinghams in centre mid for Real Madrid. I wouldn't even be surprised. I mean, but I always feel sorry for Joe Bellingham because he's in the shadow of his brother Jude. And he is his own player. And I've actually seen Joe Bellingham. I watched him in the playoff final for Sunderland, and he looks a really good player. Really like his brother. But I think he's a bit more probably faster than his brother, to be fair. And yeah, I think he's a really good player, and I think he deserves that move. I was a wee bit surprised that he didn't want to try himself out in the Premier League, because obviously he's been with Sunderland for a while. We got him in the Premier League. I thought maybe he'd want to stay play with Sunderland in the Premier League. Obviously, he doesn't want to do that. Borussia Dortmund's too hard to turn down. And obviously, it'll be really good for him because he obviously knows the club. Because obviously his brother played for them, so he'll know the leaders of Borussia Dortmund. He might know some of the players as well. So I don't think it'll not be hard for him to settle down. And we'll see how he gets on. He might have a much better career at Borussia Dortmund than his brother did. You don't know. But I hear a lot of stuff that Jobe Bellingham is actually better than Jude Bellingham. A few people have said that no, listen, although he's younger, like he's going to be much better in the future. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on there. Yeah, I'm really looking forward
I
to it. It's
think
going to
he'll
be a
do
bit
well.
strange.
I think he'll do well.
Yeah, I think he will as well. He seems to be have a really good mentality as well. And he did really well at Sunderland. So yeah, I think he'll do well there. So that's that confirmed. And then just lastly, we found out yesterday that Man City had signed left back Ryan Ait Nouri from Wolves. So that's Man City added a left back to their squad. Pearse, what's your thoughts?
I think phenomenal left back. I think top two players last season for Wolves and an underperforming side. And arguably for me, I think he's probably the second best left back in the league last season in terms of performance, just behind Milos Kirkes. Just in terms of defensively, I think he offers so much attacking talent. He's really, really good engine, good on both feet. Um, and I think he just improves that situation they have because I think they're playing Gavardo at left back. But let's be honest, he's a centre half. And I think they needed someone that's he's got an engine, he's got a bit of pace. He can play both feet, so he'd even play right back if they need to. And I think he offers that versatility, and he is just Premier League proven. And he just upgrades that position for Man City, and Man City needs strengthening all over the pitch. And I think for me, that is a massive coup because I think he's a really good player, and I think it's the next step in his development as well in terms of going from like a mid-table / relegation threat inside Wolves to challenging for Premier League titles. So for me, phenomenal signing and at a good price as well. I think it was a bit of a steal.
Yeah, I agree. Really good signing. He's been a really good fullback in the Premier League for a few years now. Really good on the ball, comfortable on the ball, which Pep Guardiola likes. It was also a position that Man City needed to strengthen. As you said, Guardiola's been playing there, and he's not a left back. And I think he will go in there and probably be the starter. So I don't think he's really injury prone as well, which is really good news. So yeah, that's a good player that Man City have added to their squad. I think he's a good age as well. He's only like 23, 24, so he's obviously still got a lot of room for improvement. And yeah, really, really good signing. And this isn't confirmed yet, but they've got players that are about to sign, likes of Tijani Reinders and Ryan Cherki. They two have looked like they're going to Man City as well. So it's a busy summer for Man City. I think it was needed after that very poor season they've just had.
I was going to mention as well, Tom. If like you say, Tijani Reinders and Cherky get announced, along with obviously Ait Nouri's been confirmed, in the last 6 months, Man City have spent £350 million.
Or just leave it at that. I mean,
It just shows you there's still 115 charges, and people
yeah, and they're
say
still
people say
banging out the money.
Pep Guardiola's the greatest manager of all time. I'm sorry, I don't think anyone had the riches that he's had in terms of managing Man City with all the oil money, Barcelona with Messi in that midfield, and then Bayern Munich with the squad they inherit. I'm just saying, um,
Yeah.
people glorify him, but I don't think he's made many players better. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, yeah. That's your thoughts on that.
Sir Alex,
Obviously
number
they
one.
allowed. Yeah, I mean, that I think that's another debate for another day. But I do know what you mean. There's a lot of people that do think like that. That Man City, they go through a tough season and they just go out and splash the cash. But yeah, that's to be confirmed. We don't know yet. So we'll now move on from transfer news. Just before we talk about Asian football news, Pearse, Scotland played their two friendlies. I'll just briefly go through them. So they played Iceland at home on Friday. They got defeated 3-1. A very poor performance. Very shocked at the performance, to be fair. Uh, I didn't expect Scotland to be that flat in the match. They didn't deserve to win at all. Iceland totally deserved to win. Um, yeah, really bad. It was lucky it was only just a friendly. And then they played Liechtenstein yesterday. Liechtenstein are officially the worst ranked team in the world. Scotland won comfortably 4-0. It was a terrible game, to be fair. Liechtenstein just didn't offer anything, to be fair. It was a training match. So two friendlies. To be fair, we didn't get a lot. I didn't get a lot out of them. But for Steve Clarke, he is under pressure, in my opinion. I think the fans have started to turn. It does feel a little bit toxic at the moment, a lot in the Tartan Army. I mean, we were on this podcast and we're talking about how upbeat we are about Scotland and coming into Euros, and I just feel the last year or so that spark has been lost between the fans and the players. And yeah, Scotland kick off their World Cup qualifying matches in September, and they really do need to get off to a good start if they want any chance of getting to the World Cup next year. So yeah, just wanted to briefly mention that. So for the final part of the show, Pearson will give his Asian football roundup.
Yeah, so some Asian football news. Ulsan HDFC have confirmed the signing of Polish defender Milos Trojak from Korona Kielce. Wee bit of transfer news there, and also Suwon Samsung Blue Wings of the K2, so that's second division in Korea, have confirmed the signing of 35-year-old defender Hwang Sok Ho from Ulsan HDFC. He'll be playing in the second tier for the first time in Korea. And Daejeon Ha Citizen are set to sign midfielder Kim Bong-Soo from Jeju SK with the transfer fee reported exceeding 1 billion Korean won, which roughly translates to just over £500,000. So South Korea have qualified for 11th straight FIFA World Cup after 2-0 win over Iraq on Friday night. Thanks to goals from super subs Kim Jung-gyu of Jeonbuk and Oh Young-gu, former of Celtic, now of Genk. And fans are currently bidding on match-worn shirts from Tottenham's Europa League final victory. And Son Heung-min's jersey is currently leading the way at over £20,000, and it's still going. And that is all your latest Asian football news.
Thank you, Pearse, and thank you everyone for listening to this episode of the Football Chuggu Podcast. This podcast will be available to listen to on the Football Chuggu YouTube channel and also the Football Chuggu website. Thanks for listening and see you soon.
Bye-bye.